It'll do that thing where it goes, okay.
Rachael Crow today, who is a stage 4 miracle cancer as an initiation, she likes to call it. She's a shamanic drum midwife who offers workshops, a creatress and writer, and like me, she's a home ed mom. I'd really like to talk to you today, Rachael, about this cancer as an initiation. I saw that on Instagram and I thought, wow, what a great way to reframe it. So would you like to explain a little bit about your cancer story?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Lovely to connect with you. And it's great. I always
Lovely.
think it's great when we connect through social media and then kind of go, oh, actually, come and talk
Yeah.
to me. So, I mean, I think any illness or any kind of big life change can be seen as an initiation. It's just putting a different slant on it. I think we're all going through initiations at the moment. I mean, I think 2020 was a worldwide initiation.
Yeah.
If people wanted to look at it in that way, it's like, here's your opportunity to look at death. Really look at death in the eye.
Yeah. Or really that was an initiation into a new level of consciousness for so many people. And I think a lot of us saw this kind of divide in consciousness happening, and it almost felt like there was two different realities on the same planet during that time. And a
Yeah,
lot of people did kind of like wake up into this higher state of consciousness during
absolutely.
that
And
time, didn't they? Yeah.
that's what it was all about, actually. That, it's like, don't
Yeah.
put all the other stuff. What was
Yeah.
that? What was that for on that higher level? It was to wake a lot of people up. And yeah, so and for me, that was when I got the stage 4 diagnosis, was in 2020, which I found
Oh,
really
wow.
curious because I'd had a stage 1B, which is like, oh, it's a tiny bit of cancer. I'll sort that out. And I did a lot of natural healing. And then, and I was saying to a friend the other day, I found it really interesting that 2020, so many people that I would label, don't like labels, but label as sensitives or empaths were diagnosed with cancer. And I was like, did we just open ourselves up and take in all the fear and all the kind of, density that was going on at that time? Because obviously that was going on as well. And I'm the kind of person that's like, I don't take it. I'm like, I'm not in fear. I'm not scared of anything. I'm a fucking
Yeah.
warrior. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah. You can. We're on Rumble.
So yeah, I was just like, okay, how do I deal with this? So for me, kind of choosing that route of, as someone who works shamanically, it's like, okay, my body's trying to tell me something.
Mm.
Kind of let's listen to the body. So with the stage 4 diagnosis, the cancer was there. It started off as cervical cancer, which I was told by the doctor I'd cleared it. There's part of me that's like, they had said that there were cysts on my ovaries. Maybe they were tumors, and they just presumed they were cysts. I mean, it was one of those kind of like, I don't know, and they won't take responsibility for kind of the fact that they should have really looked into that. If someone is presenting with cancer
Okay.
and they've got cysts somewhere, look a bit more carefully at those cysts. So that
Yeah.
was where the cancer was then in my ovaries and in my womb. And it was that kind of, oh, it's too late. It's, there's nothing we can do. It's palliative care. It spread so much, and I just
Wow.
went, no way. I'm not taking
Yeah.
that on.
But during that, did you feel the fear when they said that? Did you think, at any point, did you think, oh my God, I'm at risk of death? You know?
I think because the way I look at death is quite different to other people. I'd surrendered, so I'm kind of like, well, if I'm going to die, we're all going to die, and none of us know
Yeah.
when. So I had surrendered to that. So I wasn't scared of dying. I didn't really want to be really ill and in pain, and I obviously didn't want to leave my kids. So
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that was more grief than fear.
Mm.
That was the waves that I was riding of kind of like, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to die, and I'm going to leave my kids, and I also I had this real like, but I'm meant to be here at this time. This is what I was born for. I was born for
Yeah.
this. So no way are you taking me out.
Mm. Yeah.
So it was a massive surrender, and trying to hold on to my own sovereignty and what I wanted to do to heal alongside the hospital, which is one of the hardest things. And I think for what sort of people that I've supported with their cancer journeys, what I see with a lot of you know more sensitive people is they don't like conflict, And there's a lot of conflict if you're standing up in the medical system going, no, you're not removing my lymph nodes. Yes, I'll agree to that, but I won't agree to that. And, you know,
Yeah.
and they're constantly up against it. Well, if you don't do what we say, you'll die. That's it. I mean, that's what they just
Yeah.
kept going. It
And,
won't work. You'll die.
and I know what that's like just from refusing vaccinations with my kids and things like that, you know, or when I try, you know, just having home births and all kinds of things, you know, whenever you go against the grain of the system, we don't have to. This is the message, right? Is that they're just, I mean, it's quite an outdated system now. I would love to see it merging both sides of the coin. But when you stand up, they can be quite abrupt because they really believe in what they're doing, you know,
Yeah.
and you can see that. And then when you refuse it, they make you feel either stupid
Yeah.
or, don't they, and
Yeah.
undermine you. And so I can totally imagine what that's like if you're dealing with something like cancer.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things I always say is like have a cancer doula, like you would have a, you know, kind of if
Mm.
you're with your midwife and you're making different choices about your birth, it's great to have a doula or a friend or someone to back you
Someone
up.
can speak up for you and you can just heal. Yes.
Because
Yeah.
that's one of the other things is really tricky when you're in the system. That system is really stressful, and stress is really bad for illness. So it's
Yeah.
having to navigate it. There's so much that people don't realize that they're having to navigate.
Yeah.
In a scan, you know, it's like, you know, is it going to be all clear or is it going to show more cancer? And you're in this kind of place of like waiting for your results. And what I say to people is, you know, what I learned, because, you know, before I was in all of this stuff, I would do womb work and teach women about their cycles. And, you know, I think there's a mystical place within the cycle of that point, kind of when you're premenstrual and angsty to when you bleed. And there's almost like this blissful place in the middle. Just, you
Mm.
know, it's like for some people it's half a day for an hour or whatever, the release of bleeding. And I would
Yeah.
say that that's the place of magic. So can you drop into that magical place of waiting? You're waiting for results. One way you can't control it. There's no, you know, you can't control the
Yeah.
outcome of those results. So drop into the magic, you know, and it's,
Yeah.
I think that's the shamanic way of looking at things, is just kind of going, you know, this is where the magic is, in this surrender, in this nothingness, in this not knowing.
In the flow,
Yeah.
in the flow
And it
state,
happens
just
at birth.
surrendering and allowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that birth
Yeah.
point, isn't it? That transition point where you're just like, can't do this anymore. And then you kind of go, I've got this, you know, it all
I mean,
just,
I had a lump of what in my breast a couple of years ago, and actually it was probably around the same time that I first started noticing. How interesting. And I sort of felt it and I thought, I'm not attaching anything to this. I thought my body goes, because I'm a great believer that cancer is formed and our bodies is dependent on our immune system, and our immune system fights it, and it's a constant kind of ebb and
yeah.
flow kind of situation. So I felt this lump and I thought, okay, just don't think about it. What would you do? And I thought, well, I would go fully raw. That's what I would do. I would up my fruit. I would be mostly like a fruitarian, and that's what I did for a whole year. And but then there was still a tiny little bit left. And I thought I should go and get this checked out. You know, it's been a year. I'm being a bit. But when I did finally go and get checked out, they couldn't see anything. So I think whatever it was, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on, it's saying my battery's. Sorry, I don't think my plug's plugged in over here. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so but I did have to wait, you know, in that waiting room where you have the mammograms, and it's not just your energy, is it? You can be fine and thinking everything, you know, but then it's I was looking at the other ladies in there and thinking, oh, I hope they're fine, and you know,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. That's I was sort of taking that on as a sort of empath. I wasn't absorbing it, but I was witnessing
Yeah.
that it was quite uncomfortable and a sad environment. You know,
Yeah.
because there's other women with you and they might not be okay. You know,
And then
so
someone said recently, well, I bet they don't cleanse those machines and I bet and all that. And I was just like, you know what? I don't even want to go there.
don't
It's
even
like
think about that.
a level too far. You have to do that with your own energy when you're going into those. I mean, I used to say to people, I just put on the armor of God, which to me is like, you know, that's my mega
Yeah,
strong auric field, is just kind of because, you know, I had friends who were so anti all the COVID shit and not wearing masks and all that kind of thing. But then one of them had a diagnosis and he put a mask on to go into hospital because he was scared of the vaccine shedding. And I was just like, yeah, that's just another level of fear. It's the same as
But
what,
there's,
all the
yeah,
same. The way, oh
I
my God.
witnessed myself, because I didn't wear a mask during any of it, because you know, mostly not because I wasn't just playing ball, but I found it really difficult because I've got a short peak flow. I used to have asthma as a child, which I cured myself, but it still leaves me with a bit of shortness of breath. I need, you know, I find it quite restricting. But anyway, when the shedding was happening, I did witness myself, because a friend of mine was really into that. She said, "You've got to protect yourself from people when I'm treating them." But like you, I thought, no, I'm not. That's consciousness, isn't it? You know, you can
Yeah,
play into that level of fear.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
we
all
we can
fear.
have a whole conversation about all that stuff. But
Have a
what I
whole,
find very
yeah,
interesting, I don't know anyone who's had COVID, and I haven't had COVID. I'm like, what, what is this bullshit going on in the world? Anyway,
oh, okay,
it's that thing. If you don't let it in, if you choose not to, it's like that's not coming into my bubble,
yeah,
and it
yeah,
doesn't. So yeah, it's an
yeah,
interesting one.
yeah,
And like
and that,
listening, going
yeah,
back to
no,
what you
exactly.
were saying about, sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, I'm all for that. I think that we create our reality, and I feel like, you know, as soon as you fear something, it's like praying for the things you don't want, isn't it?
It's putting energy into it. And like what you were saying about that, the cancer, absolutely, we have cancer in us all the time, everybody does, and our body deals with it. I mean, we hear stories of, like, especially with smears, women who go have abnormal cells and then they go back 3 months later and it's all fine because their body has dealt with those abnormal cells. So if you give the body the opportunity to heal, it will. And that's one of the reasons that I chose not to continue having scans, because they
Okay.
want to keep looking and they will find it. And I know people who've, literally every 6 months they're finding cancer somewhere else in their body and they're having another operation or another round of chemo. And it's just like, what are you doing?
Mm,
Just, I
yeah,
just went, I'm done. And now I'm going to focus on strengthening my body and getting my body totally well. And I might go back to the doctors and ask for a scan, like you. If you find something and, you do like, okay, worst case scenario is this cancer, what would I do? Yes, I'd get back on my raw food. I'd be doing this, I'd be doing that. If that doesn't work, okay, let's have a scan and see what's going on.
yeah,
Yeah, sensible thing
yeah,
for me. Yeah, what would you do? Because actually we need to be living our lives in that really healthful place, because that's health prevention.
yeah,
I mean, we live in a
yeah.
city of toxicity,
Well,
don't we? So
yeah, and I think, you know, and it always baffles me, that people wait for a health scare before they become healthy. And it's like, well,
yeah,
you might not have had the health scare if you're taking your health, you know, a bit more, you know, responsibly beforehand. And I struggle with that a lot with people. But it's just getting that mindset. And I actually had a friend who said to me, the thing is, Jenna, I just like to have my toast in the morning, you know, rather than having fruit.
yeah,
And then she had some really scary procedures with abnormal cells and all of that. They had to burn them away and stuff. And she got quite ill afterwards. Her body went into like a shock phase and everything. Um, Now she's having her fruit for breakfast. You know, but it sometimes it takes this really scary thing to happen and go, oh, actually, I'm not invincible,
yeah,
to
yeah.
then change your lifestyle, doesn't it? What's
Food is such an emotive issue, isn't it? Food for women, food, especially for women, I think food is such it, we use it for comfort and all those kind of things. And actually, it really pushes people's buttons when you start talking about food, because everyone's
yeah,
got whatever they believe in as well. Of like, even in the
yeah.
health field, it's like there's the keto meat eaters and there's the
Oh
raw
yeah,
vegans.
yeah, and everyone, yeah,
Everyone believes that their thing is the thing. And what I say to people is just listen to your body,
yes, I
trust,
say the same. Yeah,
and yeah, listen to your body, what works for your body, and at different
yeah.
points in our lives, we need different things. Like menopausal women need very different diet than they would have done when they were younger and bleeding. So
And also, we live in a society where we're very multicultured, so our heritage is all very different, and so, you know, some people need warming foods or very much high carb, and some people need more because it depends where their heritage is from and what their DNA needs. You know, like black people, black and Asian people this time of year living in the UK, need a lot of vitamin D, a
Yeah.
lot more than someone like me that's from the northern hemispheres, you know. So that kind of thing comes into play. So what works for me isn't going to work for them,
Yeah.
and you really do need to listen to your body.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah,
what I've had people just go, what did you do, Rachel? Because I'm going to copy exactly what you did. And I go, you can't. You have to find your own way. I
yeah,
can make suggestions and I can say, well, I did this. And ultimately, I don't know what worked for me because I tried so many different things. But I have to
yeah,
go, when people do say, what do you think heals cancer? And I just go, living in joy.
yeah,
Find your joy, because I think that's what I didn't do the first time. I was still working and I was working at healing, and it was all really hard, and I wasn't living in joy, and I really needed to find my joy.
yeah, yeah. That's me. I mean, I always, well, it's all about vibration, isn't it? That's the way I see everything. And so it's not a one thing fits. It's like, where in your body is out of balance? Where are the shadows coming into your life force energy, creating disease in the body? So it could be that you're not having enough joy. It could be you're not getting enough electric foods into your, like, feeding your life force energy. It could be the way that you're thinking about an ex-partner. It could be that, there's so many things that could be weighing down. It could even be clutter in the house. It can be,
Yeah.
things like that can really weigh down your energy. So it's just, what is that thing for you, like, personally? And that's why one size doesn't fit all, because what created cancer in your body wouldn't be the same thing that created cancer in their body. And
Yeah.
that's why you need to look at, I so with my clients, I created a vibration inventory. So we go through their whole life, relationships, the house, everything from their past. It's like an in-depth comb through their life, like, what's weighing down the frequency. And then when you work that out, you can then raise the vibration and heal the
Yeah.
body. That's my interpretation of all of this,
Yeah. I mean, I was
So what,
constantly doing this of like, what can I let go of? What can I let go of? What can I get?
yeah.
What can me
What
down?
else? What else am I
Where,
hanging on to?
where do I need to do forgiveness? All of that, there's so many layers
Yeah.
to healing, isn't it? It's that onion of like, yeah, oh, here's another one. And here's
Because
another one.
I mean, holding resentment and um, forgiving people is so important. My ex had an affair 4 years ago. They're still together. He wrecked our whole family. He wrecked all our plans that we had. I had to move because we were living on his farm. There was so much healing that I've had to go through with that. But to forgive them has set me free. And I was able to have him over last night because he'd hurt his arm, and I've been fixing his shoulder for him. But it's because, not because he deserves forgiving, but because I deserve to be set free, because I don't want to carry that dirty energy in my system. So it's so important to forget. I've forgiven even the most awful traumas and the people, and that's a really important part of healing, isn't it? Is to do that kind of inventory. And
Realizing that it's not about them, that it's not about kind of saying their behavior was okay. It's about just going, I'm not carrying this anymore. If you see it, I loved Diana Cooper had cancer recently, and she said, oh, it's just a little bit of density in my body that I needed to release. And
yeah,
that's it. All these things are density in our
yeah,
energy field, in our body. And I think it's, if we carry it in our energy field for so long, it ends up in our bodies. And that's what
mm,
our bodies are just saying, you've been carrying this for too long. It needs to
yeah.
go.
I was
And
talking to a girl last week, and she said that she's just had breast cancer removed. She's only had the operation to remove the cancer. She's not having any chemo or anything. But she said, I really felt my body gave me loads of warnings before it got to this point, you know, and I just ignored them. And so now she's stepping up, and she's started sprouting, and she started to do the things to feed her body. She's, adopting. She just came to the cold water with us the other day, and it's adopting these new lifestyles that are going to be for health, and to heal and to create joy. So when you talk about it being an initiation as well, what have you done? What are the major things that you feel are different about you now since having cancer?
I made a choice that my life had to be about beauty, joy, and love. So if it ain't got beauty, joy, or love in it, it doesn't come into my sphere anymore.
Yeah, amazing.
I
Yeah,
mean, so the first thing I did was I sold my business, and that was something that I'd been hanging on to. Just kind of, it was comfortable, it was easy. I've been doing it for years. It was like my baby, but I was also, because my business before had been like this womb work, it had been selling cloth pads, moon cups, all that kind of thing. It had all been very much about, I found it interesting. That's where I got cancer. All
Yeah,
about that.
I know, I was
I've
just
been
thinking that.
saying in my
Yeah,
perimenopause, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. Perimenopause is another transition where it kind of really brings you into like, who am I? What do I want to do?
yeah.
But it was a way of making money and it was easy and I could do it. But,
Hmm.
I didn't have the passion for it anymore, which is what was important. So that was one of the first things I did was I sold my business, and lockdown was the perfect time to do it. Because it's like, who wants an online business? So
Yeah.
it was quite easy to sell my business. I'm
Mm.
so blessed that that all flowed. Um, really looked at my relationship with my now ex-husband. That bit of
You
it.
hear that one a lot, actually. There's that lady who was quite famous at the beginning of this sort of movement, who I think she was German or Austrian or something, and she got the diagnosis of, I think she had ovarian cancer, and she said to the doctors, just give me like 3 months or something like that. And in those 3 months, she adopted a raw vegan diet. She took up yoga daily, and she divorced her husband.
You just got to look at like where are the bits that aren't, there's no passion or there's no joy or there's
Yeah,
kind of, or you're people
I
pleasing or
see
you
it.
know
I see
even
it
with
with my
friends it's
clients.
like get rid of
Yeah,
the toxic friends, the ones
yeah,
that
no, but I
always
see it in so
moan.
many relationships, that it's the relationship that is weighing people's energy down. And you just see it. Like, I often, when I'm driving around in my car, I'll look into another car with a couple, and you can read it. They're miserable. They don't really want to be sat next to each other. It's just, and you think, why are you even? And it's this old paradigm, isn't it, that you get married and you spend the rest of your life with that person. But I've had 3 long-term relationships. With each one, I had a family, and the last one I would have stayed with forever, if he hadn't have had the affair. So actually, I was saved, the way that I see it, um, because I remember having this weight, and I felt disempowered in that situation. And as soon as we broke up, I became empowered, and I felt this weight drop off. And I've just been like a bird soaring in the sky since we broke up. And so but I see it with some of my friends. I think, oh, it's the man, it's your guy, he's the one that's holding you back.
No, they're gonna find their own way though, haven't
Another
they?
thing, yeah, particularly from health, I can see their vibration just way down in this relationship. I think it's one of the most important things to do. Yeah.
And starting your, like you say, starting your day, whether fruit better than toast, but it's like, I start my day in that gratitude and enjoy, and it's like, what am I going to create today? What's my day going to be like? And I've always done like yoga and breath work and meditation, but I upped it, the ante. It was just like, I was in the garden doing yoga, I was putting my yoni on the earth doing, I found these amazing
Yeah.
yoni nidras.
Yoni yoga, I love that.
Yeah, it was just kind of like, and I think
Another,
the
it's a step up from earthing, isn't it?
absolutely,
Putting
and
your feet in there, get your full on earth yoni going on. Yeah, I've never
it's pretty
that.
powerful. I'd recommend go try it. But it's also that put myself as number one, which I'd never, as a mother, as a wife, all of that stuff, I was always bottom of the pile. It's like everyone else's stuff, and now I am number one. I get up and I make my stuff before I make the kids breakfast. I was like, sorry,
Yeah,
you can sit there and have a glass of water while I make my juice. It's
yeah.
like my health is my priority. Obviously the kids' health is priority too, but it was like,
Yeah, but it's a priority for them too, that you're okay, so that you're still around to look after them, even if their breakfast comes second.
yeah,
It's important. I think every mother should take that lesson, and that's
yeah,
what I've done. Because I had 2 kids 20 years ago and another 2 kids recently, and I find I do it all differently this time around. I'm never stressed. I'm a single mum with running businesses. I never feel like it's all too much, because I prioritize myself. I make sure that I'm out in the woods every morning, barefoot, doing some qigong, come home, make my juice, and then I make a juice for the kids, and then we get our day started. But I think all mums, whether it's a good lesson, isn't it?
well,
Don't wait until you've got cancer to start looking after yourself, you know.
exactly. Filling your cup on whatever. I mean, I remember, even because I've, it's a bit like you, I've got two sets of older ones. My older ones are in their 30s, and then I've got teenagers and an 11-year-old. But I would always say to the mums, you see them kind of still breastfeeding their 3-year-old and their baby, and they look exhausted. I'm like, what do you do for yourself? Where's your
Mm,
self? You know, it's like you can't give from an empty cup, and it's no good for your kids for you to be frazzled and burnt
yeah,
out. You know,
yeah.
so, I mean, even
We
kind
all
of
did that.
witnessing people, you know, get really freaking out about what's going on in the world, and I'm like, we can't do anything about it. You know, send money to your causes if that helps you, but actually, you know, we have to do it here. We have to be in peace here. We have to be in peace with our kids, be in peace with our neighbors, be in peace with our family, do the forgiveness. That's what's going to change the world. That's
Yeah.
what we no point sitting sobbing about people dying on the other side of the world. You know, look after your kids.
People are always dying on the other side of the world. They just don't televise it all. They're
Um,
televising this for a reason.
yeah.
And I think there's
Pick your
not.
thoughts.
Well, what I realised, because I was such an empath. Oh, it says we're running. Oh, it's me. I'm running out of time. Because I was such an empath, I used to take it all on and be in bed because of what was going on in the world. And I couldn't. I was used to nobody. And then I realised, what's the point of looking at things that we have no control over, that we can't control? You know, like you just said, exactly. Just your own family, your own community. You know, it's saying
Right.
that we've really got.
We've got 9 minutes.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's what it's saying.
Can I ask you a question then? So if you're saying you used to be an empath and you'd be in bed with all the grief of the world or whatever, what did you do to change your energy around that?
So one, I stopped watching the news 15 years ago. That was the first thing. I created a bubble around myself. I decided to live in my own bubble and not think about. Also, I worked in the community and I started to learn boundaries. You know, like I can't take on someone else's problems. I would be dealing with people that were at risk of homelessness or homeless. And I would go, right, I'll write to them, I'll do that for you. And then I got to the point where I was just too heavy with everybody else's energy. And then I got to a point where I reversed that and I would be like, no, but this is who you need to write to, you know, and empowering them to help themselves. Um, and now I'm just very good with boundaries. Like, and somebody taught me a trick. It was a shamanic trip that they do in the jungle. And so when you see roadkill or the news that's really fucking awful, rather than go, oh no, absorb, because you're absorbing that energy like a sponge, you project instead. So, for instance, every day just down the road, I've got to pass a pig farm every single day when I drive to town. And there would be a time when I used to say, oh, pigs, I'm so sorry, take on sponge, sponge, you know. Whereas now I shout out the window, I love you, pigs. as so I'm projecting love at them rather than absorbing grief, you know. And so that has been a massive one for my vibration. It's just like project, send love, send love, send love, send love, you know, rather than absorb pain, you know, just send everything love.
Yeah.
That's how I've done it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, yeah. And I'd say the same. I mean, for me, I mean, I always thought I was good with boundaries, but there'd be certain people that kind of would work their way in and be the ones that, you know, really got in there. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I
I
love,
mean, I've almost had to do a cull.
yeah,
Yeah. And it looked really heartless. But if people are going to be toxic towards me and affect my energy by being abusive with with the way that they speak to me and the way they behave around me, you know, I've got to a point in my life where I've experienced domestic violence. I've been treated, you know, so badly by men. I'm in a place where I'm staying single. I'm really happy here. Um, and it's going to take someone pretty special to for me to hook up with, you know,
yeah,
after the experiences that I've had. And my home's my haven. I live in the countryside, so people only come to my house by invite, you
I'm
know.
around as
And so
well. Yeah,
I'm just at a place where I just want peace in my life. I just want peace. And
yeah,
if people are going to interrupt my peace, they don't get the privilege of being in my company because my company is ace. You know? And I'll do everything for anyone. And so to have me is a gift in your life, you know. But it took me a long time to feel that, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. No, I think that's
Yeah.
beautiful. One of the things that I had was because I used to like getting involved in people's dramas and help, you know, feeling like I was the savior, and I had to start going,
Yeah.
not my monkeys, not my circus, not my
But you
monkeys, not
see that, yeah. And you see that with cancer a lot is that the people that I've seen that end up with cancer often are taking on a lot of people's
Yeah.
things. I love that. Not, yeah, not my monkeys, not my circus.
It's none of
You
my
know?
business. Actually, that is
Yeah,
none of my business. I can look, I even say that to friends where they'll start going, oh, so and so, so, so. And I go, it's none of my business. I don't want to hear it. Gossiping.
yeah.
That
Oh,
low vibration energy. I
it
don't need
is.
to, I don't even know that
Yeah.
person. Why are you telling me?
Oh, gossiping, complaining. I don't even want to be in the vicinity of where I'm hearing it. Like,
No.
phew,
Yeah,
with low vibes to yourself,
yeah.
motherfuckers.
And they do. That's the thing that's interesting because I just think, oh, like, well, if I don't help them, who will? Someone else will. Some other sucker
Yeah.
will.
And at the end of the day, I've gone from the lowest of the low in my life where I suffered with depression and everything. I picked myself up. I went on this journey myself, and that's why I'm so empowered and strong and wise. So by helping anybody else with their issues, you're not allowing them to have the experience of growing and evolving and becoming wise. And if they don't want to take that journey on, it's up to them, isn't it? It's their soul, it's their soul's journey. It's not our nobody else is our responsibility. And I always used to think that sounded really closed-hearted, but actually it's not. It's
The
not.
biggest
It's
gift
like
you give
it's
someone,
the
isn't it?
opposite. If you let people stand up and help themselves, it empowers them and they become strong and they become wise. So allow everyone the experience of pulling themselves out of the gutter. Because
Yeah,
that's, and if they don't, and that's their responsibility. It's not yours.
totally. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I was raised by a mother like that. She's called it tough love. You're like, you sort it out yourself, Rachel, tough love. And I'd be like, really, mum, come on. It's like I'm a teenage mum with 2 kids. Can I come and live with you? My mum's no. Find yourself somewhere. I went through
Yeah.
homeless hospital and everything, and I was really angry with her. I was like, how are you doing this to me? We could be living with you. But actually, I ended up with my own place. I learned how to pay the bills. I learned how to do all that
I'm
adult stuff.
independent. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
like you can't innate it's not helpful. And I say that to people when I see it, especially grandmas do it a lot, I think, with like, and it's like, what about your life? You've been a mum for all these years and now you're looking after the grandchildren. It's like,
Yeah.
where do
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
in your life? I'm not going to be
Yeah.
doing not a grandma
Yeah.
yet.
But I think there's been a bit of a change in society anyway, hasn't there? Where the role of the woman has changed massively since that time.
Yeah.
I remember my nan said the other day that another person in the family had gone on holiday with her work just for a weekend. They went to Ibiza, and she's like, she went to Ibiza, but she's a mum.
Yeah.
And my nan couldn't get her head around how a mum could go off to Ibiza for a weekend without kids. But it's a different world now, isn't it? So I think,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
and women need to learn not to be part of that old paradigm where we're slaves. I mean, I've got 4 sons, and my motto to them is, well, mum doesn't equal slave. Mum doesn't
Yeah.
equal slave.
Yeah.
You do that, and it doesn't. How are you empowering your boys to be strong, independent men if you're doing everything for them?
Yeah.
You know,
Or that they think that that's what women are there for. That's
yeah,
what their wife is going to do or whatever it is. It's
yeah,
like I think the same thing to my kids. I'm like, I'm not your slave. Go get your drink. It's over there. It's like,
yeah.
Mom,
Put
it
your
is.
own plate in the dishwasher.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? It's like, you
Tidy
can do
your own bedroom. Just those little things makes all the difference for them to be. And I know with my 2 adult sons, they're really good at tidying up and making dinner and doing their own laundry and all that stuff. They don't rely on any woman to do that for them. And I think, well, job done.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's such a good message, actually, that we went off into that little tangent from cancer, and women. It's like, because
yeah,
if it's those kinds of things that we're just really, doing everything for everybody else and just realizing that you're not empowering them to do things for themselves, and
yeah.
you're cancer.
Yeah.
That's a
The
good
draining
message.
yourself, draining your own energy. Come on, it's like, yeah, the message is, where's your joy? Where's your passion? What do you want to do with your life? This is
Yeah,
about you. This is about you because you
yeah,
can still be a mum and have a life. That's the thing,
yeah,
isn't it? And so many women say, oh, well, I haven't, it's like sort it out, get another single parent, do swaps. There's always
yeah.
ways of finding the childcare or the ways to do things, or just got no money, go for a bloody walk. It's free. It's like,
And what I find that the more that people go, oh, I'm a single mum, all this, whatever, or got no money, or the more they perpetuate that, it's bigger in their life because that's what they're
exactly.
focused on.
Big victim
That's
story, isn't it? So
Yeah, so you put yourself in that victim state, you stay there. I mean, you've put yourself into that low vibrational state, you put yourself there. You know, I'm a single mum, you're a single mum. You know, we're running businesses, we're still smiling and full of joy. So it doesn't
because we
have
do the
to be
self-care.
that way.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
just one more thing that I wanted to say to you is I saw a post that you put up the other day and you said that you might do it differently next time if you had the cancer diagnosis.
Yeah,
What would you?
I wouldn't go anywhere near the hospitals or the doctors. I would just do my own thing. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Okay.
think I had to for what I was going through. I think it changed a story for me, facing my, kind of calling chemo poison and all that kind of thing, transmuting it into light and love. But I
Hmm.
wouldn't do it again.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you would trust that your body could do it without.
Read my book.